All right, folks, we're back here for another recap of Raising Kanan Power Book 3. This is episode 2, Mind Your Business. Oh, we got a lot of special things for you tonight. And before we get into our recap, well, we got a special guest. So let's get into that interview right now with no other than, unfortunately, the victim of tonight's episode, Scrappy, played by maybe make sure I say his name right. Aid Chaik Torbett. Let's get into that interview, folks, right now. What's up, Day? How you doing today?
I'm doing wonderful, man. How are you today, Najir?
Good, man. Crazy ending of this episode tonight. I was completely shocked, but we got limited time, so I gotta get right to the hard questions here. Did Rock make the right decision, man?
I don't think so. But at the same time, if I'm offering her compassion and empathy, she's got a lot on her plate right now. There's a lot of variables that are outside of her control. So I understand her trying to control the things that are within her control. So I don't necessarily agree with it. I think Scrappy has proven himself to be a solid and loyal and dependable individual. But people change, and this is not a game where you can take, I wonder if this guy is doing the right thing. You really don't, you don't have that time to make those decisions. So it's like, you may have a regret later down the line, but ultimately she was able to clear her own conscience of any worry.
Or did she? Because that brings me to my next question. I've been battling this one. And if Marvin had not found that very, very, very minor discrepancy, because Scrappy did not want to let everybody know he was, dealing with the gambling stuff, which is a liability and whatnot. But him saying he was hanging up pictures, and obviously that was a whole funny stint and whatnot. But if Marvin had not have found that out, do you think Rock's decision would have changed when he came back saying, like, listen, I can't definitively say he's lying, but there was something off with this? Do you think that would have changed their mind?
Absolutely. I think Marvin finding out that one little discrepancy was all that Rock needed to give the green light. It's like, because had Scrappy understood where even the line of questioning was coming from, Scrappy is like the kid that your mom said, hey, no cookies before dinner, and then you ate a pack of cookies and your mom comes home, you're like, no, I didn't eat any cookies. You're not realizing that, no, these are actually edibles. You're not supposed to eat those things. There's consequences. So I think if Scrappy, he knew he messed up. He's a gambler. He likes to do it. He didn't think anything of it. He's at his mom's house. Yeah. If any place is safe, it's my mom's house.
Yeah. It's interesting. And what's sort of and you can kind of either put the perspective of the character or your personal thoughts, but what's sort of your feelings about Lulu really standing up for Scrap, which I think is a little bit of the lens in which the viewers also perceive Scrap, to say, like, he's loyal, he bled for us, he lost the eye, like, I'm not really feeling this decision. Ultimately, Lulu saying, I don't want nothing to do with this. And that has a lot to do with his from what he did last season to now becoming this new person in terms of this saying, like, I'm just not for this, but what's sort of your thoughts on how you feel like Lou stood up for Scrappy?
I think Lou is a voice of reason, which is why Rock keeps him around. He doesn't always want to get his hands dirty, but she goes to him before she goes to Marvin to figure out, should I do this? And I think Lulu is coming from the perspective of, we had Scrappy go over to Unique's side. Scrappy could have just assassinated Lulu without a moment's notice, just to solidify myself in another camp. So I think Lulu is really taking stock into, like, whoa, but this guy has showed up here. He showed up here. He showed up here. He got chased by the cops, didn't do anything. He got arrested when he was fighting Kanan and didn't say or do anything. So why all of a sudden now do we feel like he's snitching? What reason does he have to snitch? Come on. The guy is still here with one eye.
Yeah, exactly my thoughts. That's exactly my thoughts. And for my last question, I just want to ask, Roel coming in, really shaking things up. One, I want to tip my hat off to your performance this entire episode. One, the scene with you and Marvin in the middle of the episode, and then the one obviously at the end. And I love how that was shot inside of the car. But what was sort of your feelings channeling that passion to really deliver line after line after line and really, as I said earlier, really getting the fans over in terms of showing how loyal Scrappy is?
Well, you know, for me, even when I read the script for this episode, I was like, whoa, thank you. Now we get to, I'm able to discuss and express how much I've been down since I was 14, since I was a kid, you know what I mean? So for me, I'm looking at season 1, and I feel like Scrappy was kind of always waiting in the wings for his moment to come up. I'm gonna take that back seat. You're gonna let Kanan come in, that's your son, I'm gonna let him rock, but he's not built for the game like Scrappy is. So I think he kept taking these moments on the chin, and then finally it's like, you gonna bring in Worrell? The guy that did this to me.
Yeah.
The guy that put me in this moment, had me dumped in front of your house.
Yeah. In
a pair of Hanes briefs. You know what I'm saying? So in that moment, I'm like, yeah, I'm frustrated. I'm absolutely frustrated, because after everything I've done, how could you feel comfortable passing me up like this? So it came from a real place. And also I knew that for me, Ade, that this was the ending of my journey. So I'm like, I would only hope that people are as invested in the character as I am. So I don't want this just to be a, oh my God, Scrappy's gone. I want people to feel the weight of it. I want to have them on the edge of that cliff. I want them to feel a man, a dude from the streets emoting in a way that still feels comfortable to him. But when I did that scene, I was literally almost on the verge of tears. And I'm like, I can't cry. Real gangsters don't cry. Thugs, I would never let Marvin see me in this vulnerable moment, but I took it right to the edge of the cliff. I took it right there, and I felt it like, whoa. And my boy London's like, oh man, you got some good footage, bro. You're gonna have some good footage after this episode. So it's been a beautiful process. And shout out to my brother, London Brown, because I admire him. I look up to him. I love his energy. I was a fan of his from Ballers. So that was actually my last day on set, was filming that scene. So being able to film Scrappy's death and all these other things, and to finish off with that, I'm like, oh yeah, y'all gave me all the meat and potatoes on my last day. Let's get busy.
Well, fantastic job. And if you did not know, man, listen, you know, your character may have died on the show, but you're always a part of the Power universe, and it is a privilege to be able to talk to you about a very crazy, insane episode 2 here of season 2 of Raising Kanan. And hopefully we get to talk again soon, brother.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, Najir.
Absolutely pleasure. Appreciate it. And everybody, thank you so much for tuning in to this interview. And now you got to get over to the recap of tonight's episode. Thank you for watching. Sir. All right, folks. Hopefully you enjoyed that. It was a pleasure to talk to my guy, Aid. You know, Scrappy, unfortunate death on tonight's episode, but we will talk about it if it was warranted. Did we agree with it? You know, I got a little bit of mixed feelings. I'm like Lulu on the side. I'm not really sure if this was the move, Rock, but we will talk about that. But in tonight's episode, again, episode 2, Mind Your Business, we're going to get all things covered, including the death of Scrappy, including the debut of Juke's mother, played by the lovely Latoya Luckett, and all other things. And folks, if you have not checked out our previous interviews on the channel, they're all available. We had a lot of things power within the last few weeks. We had tons of interviews that's available, tons of more interviews coming. We attended the red carpet event, got to hang out with the cast members, other content creators, journalists, critics, other celebrities and whatnot. It was a fun night. And you know, as I said, we try to bring you that official recap review show each and every week here on YouTube, Nigerian Lucas, if you don't know by now. And we're so excited. Even when we're done with Kanan, there's so much more we got coming down the pipeline. And I just can't wait for you all to find out. Can't talk about a lot of things right now, but things are on the way. But Lou, you ready to get into tonight's episode?
I'm about to say, you just left the most important person out. I mean, you know, we met a pastor with the biggest diamond encrusted chain I've seen in my life. And that says a lot, because I've seen lots of drug dealers that don't have chains. Man, that junk was sickening. But let's get into it with the one-eyed bandit as Rock just, you know, just when I thought she could let me down.
Yeah.
Go ahead and let me down a little bit here.
Yeah, again, it was a pleasure to talk to Aid. Again, whether you watching our review straight through, the interview is available separately on the channel. And I really do want to talk about that specific scene right now. But if this is your first time checking us out, hopefully you stop by each and every week, hit the subscribe button and notification bell. Even hit the super chats if you're feeling generous. But we do like to go down the list of events through the episode, so we will get to the ending, that big scene, once we get through the other stuff. So let's start off with the beginning with Rock and Howard having that meeting in the park, the location of interest, which I thought was interesting because I'm pretty sure that place is probably potentially still being surveillanced. I mean, they did mention a crackhead had a little bit of intel, and we know that crackhead ain't leave that spot. So, you never know. It just seems like a little hot decision to go back there, but they did, for all intents and purposes. But yeah, what do you make of this conversation between the two of them, and Howard making it very clear he know who shot him, and that's what it's going to be?
Again, it's just him making these threats towards Rock. And in the first season, we kind of understood why he was mad and why he wanted, Kanan to know about him. It was strictly because he needed a transplant. At this point, you're like, dude, you ain't been around for how long? Like, you ain't been in this boy's life. It's now you up here with all these emotions and all this other stuff. Now you want to connect with him. It's like, come on, man. It sets up a situation where Rock is going to have to make a horrible decision if need be. And that is her and Howard always have been at least cordial with one another, besides her trying to get Kanan to kill him. Like, what happens when she just decides, like, I can't be cordial with you anymore? Because this here is a huge threat. It's a huge threat to her. It's a huge threat to Kanan. It's a huge threat to the lies she's been telling for years, for him to even approach her this way.
Yeah. Why you think she didn't flex like she usually would when somebody threatens her? She kind of digests it like, oh, okay.
I think they're playing off of the issues that Howard brought up we saw in the first episode. It's just that technically he has memory issues. So, like, why not play it that way? Why not play a safe route with Rock? I'm thinking that's like, there's no need to go over the top with this dude. Not yet, at least. Because I also believe she's not 100% sure that he's going to actually do what he's saying he's going to do. Rock she plays the game of bluff a lot. So she's probably thinking like, he could be bluffing me to make me think he's going to do something. But we clearly saw what happened the first time she tried to do it. Like, it didn't go well. Granted, we see what happened with Scrap later on when she just had kind of doubts about him and killed him. But here with Howard, I think it's just
that's exactly my point.
Feelings are still there, though.
That's interesting too. I mean, she did bring up like, this is the first, you were the first person to give me a cigarette, and he was kind of just like, it was like one of those nostalgia moments between the two. Like, oh, you remember that? So like, yeah,
I wonder what cigarette was it? Was it well, it had to be a Newport, a Virginia Slim,
Camel,
a Dunhill,
Camel.
There was no damn Camel there. Nah, nah, Camels and Marlboros are for the other race. Ain't no black people smoking those jokes. He gave her a Newport 100 and she lost it. She like, I ain't never seen no cigarette this big before.
But yeah, he said he made a deal with God, and he has to live. He has to live to right his wrongs, and now he got this whole like sort of just angelic purpose of life now, than being Kanan's dad. But the interesting thing is that we should not be taking Howard at face value. We talked to Omar, and he confirmed a lot of our thoughts. He's a chess player. He's a narcissist. And that's the road that he wants the viewers to also fall for. You want to kind of fall for him and sympathize, like, dang, like, he got shot. He said, I deserved it. And all he wants to do is expose to his son that he's the father. And that's that. And you think we're about to get, 8-10 episodes of him just wanting to be the dad? This is power now. We know it's more than that. So, like, I love this whole sort of baby face that we're getting of him right now to kind of suck us in, to kind of say, oh, he's a good guy, he's doing good things, you know, he let Rock slide. No real threats in terms of like, I'm gonna take down your business or take your son away from you. He's just like, and let's forget, he's a street dude too, so that's also a potential factor. And I don't want to hear because he's in the blue that he can't. Like, stop it, folks. We know the game. But he definitely is just like, I just want him to know that's my father. I'm the father, and Kanan's gonna know. Is what he said. Kanan's gonna know. And then, as if that was it, then he gave her some very important intel. He said, One-Eye Jack, the gambler, which is a dope nickname, by the way, is working with us. Seen him in there talking to one of our folks in there. So I'm just letting you know because I'm looking out for our son, trying to protect the kids here. So, you know, obviously we're talking about Scrap here. And let's just call it what it is. Rock ate that right up. She believed him right away. Not even a question.
He played her. That's the move right there. He legit told her one of your guys is snitching. And she had no questions about that. Especially somebody who's shown her nothing but loyalty.
Listen.
My God, he's more loyal than Chris Brown is. Like, come on, man. Like, how is this humanly possible? But again, it's what you said. Howard is playing the game with her. And this was a great move to pull. Like, oh man, we got your boy snitching for us. Howard wouldn't hear none of the whole conversation. But he just said it that way because he needed her to believe him.
Yeah. Now listen. I don't want to spend too much time on this because we got a bunch of other stuff to talk about, but let's talk about this in full circle now. So Rock believes Howard is telling the truth. We both don't think Howard is telling the truth. We think he's playing the game, which would then mean Scrap is loyal. And the only person that went that stood for him, that went to town for him, was Lou, the brother that's on the outside because he's questioning everything that they're doing. How does this change the dynamic between the siblings now? Because Marvin's playing impartial. It's really Rock versus Lou. And Lou is doing his business. He's loyal to the family to an extent, but he is questioning some of the very permanent decisions that Rock is making. And this whole entire episode is Lou saying, this dude lost his eye for us. He is loyal. I'm not pulling the trigger on this one. Like, this is not right. And even at the end, which we'll talk about more emphasis when we get there, he stood up for this guy. He didn't believe he deserved this. So how does this change things if it turns out that Howard was bluffing and Lou was right the entire time?
The key part is going to be them having to find out that Howard is bluffing. That's going to be the hardest thing in the world. Yeah. Because most likely they'll never know. And Rock's already pulled the trigger. So the weirdest part of it all is, and this is what confuses me the most.
Kanan. I think at some point we might get a conversation between Kanan and Howard, and let's just call it what
happened. But Rock ain't really one to like believe anything from Howard. So
except for this.
And Kane, keep in mind though, Kane is not going to go back and tell his uncles. He's going to go and tell his mother this was said.
True.
But Rock is at the point where, I think she said it best here. It's a chance he ain't snitching, but we can't take that risk. Like she made a very calculated decision. So I don't think 100% sure they knew he was snitching. It was not about that. It was the risk is if he is, we're screwed.
Yeah.
And I don't think, in the grand scope of things, I don't think this affects the siblings at all, because Scrap put himself in a position where this could happen. What did they say? He had a weakness.
Gambling.
You got to kick that weakness, man. Like it put him in a horrible situation where I can then question your loyalty.
It's so
once
weird.
I question it, you got to go.
It's so weird that everybody has a weakness, technically, and
that is true.
It is going to be interesting to see. This is
the siblings are allowed to have weaknesses. Ain't nobody else around them allowed.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting how this plays out, because I can definitely see this shifting things amongst them in terms of like who was right, who was wrong. I don't think it's a matter of loyalty, but it will be a matter of like saying like I told you, and like having somebody like Scrap who literally is one of their biggest assets, who literally lost the eye for them, who literally had a very passionate moment with Marvin, letting them know like I'm about this life, and Marvin definitely just was like, huh? So where were you at? He didn't even care. He just like went one ear out the other. I just tend to think that like maybe this was a little bit too soon. Maybe this should have been thought out a little bit more, you know, a little bit more investigation. Catch him red-handed, you know. Do it yourself.
I think we can agree on the outside that yes, maybe more investigation should be done. But in that lifestyle, you don't have the luxury of getting more investigations. You got the moment you get a sniff of something, man, you gotta go. I have no other choice. That's the thing about the game. If you're in it, you already know like any slightest thing, I gotta get rid of you. And Scrap had to learn a lesson that many rappers have learned before him. So listen, it's all good when you're with the team, but the moment you make a slip up, man, the team gonna get rid of you quick.
So listen, we're not going to answer this. We're going to throw this to the audience. What will be Howard's reason to lie about this? What does he get from telling Rock bad intel here? That's the question. We'll figure it out in a couple of weeks, I assume. Let's get to the next thing. Famous. He gets kicked out for getting ass in his mom's house. Mom Dukes was not having that. Came in that joint hot. Also accused him of stealing money. We know that Famous is smoking. We're not going to call him an addict, but he's getting down that path of, you know, lying to his mother, stealing from her. You got to get your ass up out the house. So we now see a little bit of a different motive and sort of mindset of Famous now with nothing but a bag of clothes and his mixtape. No money, no place to live. The hustle is different, and he does not have another song. So we got to see what's next for Famous coming up this season. He's a main character, a recurring character, and all we know right now is just that he's out of his house. And much more, a little bit more later on this episode, but we do know that Famous mom is just like, hey, bro, up out of here. Didn't think twice. Kick my man out of there. We don't know where his girl went. They didn't have Uber back then, so like we didn't see her like get the
she hit the block. She went.
I wanted to see that so bad. I really wanted to see that.
Oh shit! Look here, I'm just happy Famous mom ain't my mom, because I think I could have got them cheeks and been perfectly fine. But I think it was the disrespect at that point for her.
Oh, 1,000%.
Again, if she's thinking you're stealing, I think she's almost 100% sure you are. You picked up a horrible habit.
Yeah.
Again, the theme of this episode: people and their weaknesses. You picked up a habit that you couldn't control, and you put yourself in jeopardy when you knew better than to do it. As he said, as when he came in, his sister was like, you know what's gonna happen if Mom come here and catch this. She literally tried to wake him up and the bride to get them out the house because she knew what was going to happen to him.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
But I mean, streets needed a body, and
he caught one. He caught one. He lived it. He lived his life. Listen, he lived through his rhymes. He caught a body at Mom Duke's house, and Mom Duke's got them both out of there. So Marvin's in therapy or rehab, whatever you want to call it. And he's working on triggers, and he seemed to knew how to work other people's triggers, but he also is trying to take the easy way out of this. There is nothing to make of this right now, but we do see that him and the leader or the therapist, I'm not sure what those things are called, or AA meetings or whatnot. The
old Carrie is what I call her.
Yeah. Okay.
We see that just the 90s, so she's clearly older. So that's old Carrie Pilgrim. She's there to help Marvin work through his problems.
There's something to be made of him and of them too. We'll see what it is. Nothing really comes to light, but she's definitely on to him, not allowing him to get such an easy way out of this. So we'll see. Does he buy in at some point, or is he just going to again try to coast and get this done and just get up out the system? So we'll see.
Hold on. We gotta give a quick shout out too, because Marvin went an entire episode without crashing a car.
One car, red Lexus.
You got to give it to him. This is the first time in a while we've seen him with only one car in the episode.
Yep. It's crazy how like people got to be congratulated for the simplest things. He didn't crash his car today. Congratulations, sir. Juke is learning more about her mother from Rock. Now, this is interesting because this is the mother-daughter conversation here, especially by Rock's posture, sitting next to her, letting her know what it is. I think this is a very well written scene. You can tell there's a lot of authenticity into it, and I think that understanding how important this scene is. It's a scene that you can probably easily write off because there's not a lot of action going on here, but understanding that as much as the show is about Kanan, it's about Rock. About Juke, and that Juke is learning about her mother. The biggest thing to take away from this is that Rock explained to her that maybe she was not feeling like she was cut for the job. That's what she said to her. And of course, Juke is like, well, what does that mean? Because you're basically saying like you wanted to have me, or you had me, but you didn't feel like you could do the job, so you left me. And it was very humanizing for Rock to say like, well, at one point I kind of felt like that. I didn't know if I can do it, but hey, I don't really know her whole motive behind it, but like I'm here. So that's the thing. Kept it real with her, letting her know that I'm present. Everybody may not be able to do it, but I'm here. Appreciation for who she is, and also perspective for Jukebox. I also think what's really important about this is because you needed to ease over the resentment. By her being able to like kind of put herself in the shoes, is making that meeting and that interaction something that isn't going to be fiery. It's going to be more of an understanding. It's going to be probably on playing fields instead of her coming in hot like, why the hell, what you did for me, etc., etc., etc. So like, I really do love this conversation because it's important to understand what is to come for the mother-daughter who hasn't seen each other in years, and what is that conversation is going to be. I think it's going to start at zero, understanding all the trauma and everything that Juke had been through, and then we know that her mother had lived in LA, moved back, had 2 divorces, and no kids. This is the information that she got from Detective Burke. So obviously the mother had been through some things. So it's going to be one of those type of things where what happened in LA. It's LA, folks. Why do y'all think she went to LA? It's very easy. Listen, it's not even a spoiler to be having common sense here. Juke sings, Latoya Luckett is casted. Why do people go to LA? So clearly she went there for some artistry of some sort, and it didn't work out, and she's back. Maybe she left her because of these trials and tribulations in her life. And so it's going to be a little bit of a self-reflection upon looking at one another, understanding like where the 2 of them have been in their life and where they're going to go from here. So like, I really love this scene because it makes sense in order to really understand the potential conversations and dynamics that may happen going forward. Now, what is important, I think, to take away from this is that Rock, as I said, Rock was basically saying like, listen, she wasn't cut for the job, but I'm here. What does that mean for the 2 of them if they have an interaction? How does Rock feel about her mom leaving her? What does that mean? Because we know Rock is so about Kanan and obviously Juke. Do she at a point just don't respect her because she left her kid? What is that dynamic going to be? Also, did she hold that same energy towards Marvin, who's not being here for Juke? So
here's the thing that I picked up from this scene. Rock knows the reason that she left.
I think
something tells me the reason that she left is because of their family. The same reason that Juke wanted to leave. When Juke said, I love you, I don't want to be around this anymore. I think that's the reason that she left. And I think she was given an ultimatum, possibly by Marvin and Rock, where you can leave, but the baby ain't going with you. I think that's the revelation that's going to come out, because this conversation, the part that I picked up on is that it morphed in the middle of the conversation between what we've always pictured as a surrogate mother-daughter relationship to an aunt-niece relationship. And that's because Rock is holding back things, and she can't say why. When she said, "What do you know about my mom?" The look that came over Rock's face was almost like, "Oh shit, did she figure it out?"
Yeah.
So
Actually, real talk. I think we need to start paying attention to that because that face you're talking about is the same face when Kanan was like, "Mom, what's the deal? I know you got something you want to say over there," and then she started talking about Howard. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
So
you're right.
I'm now wondering, what did they do that made the mom leave? And if we find out it's something bad, could we now see the reason that Jukebox leaves? Is because this exposes something that once it comes out, there's no letting that back in again. And we can see where the separation between Juke and Kanan happens and Juke and the family happens. So that's what I picked up on. I said, oh, Rock is lying. And she doesn't want to tell the full truth to Juke, because if Juke finds out the full truth, when Juke is already like 1 foot out the door with the family, if she finds out the full truth, she's gonna leave.
Do you think this is the Zeke syndrome? When he found out Monet was his mom, it was lied to the entire time. I'm not saying that they're mom. I'm just saying how big a lie can change somebody's whole everything.
I think it's gonna completely change Juke.
Everybody's waiting for that moment.
The moment she finds out. And I think that's what's gonna happen. Again, we don't know much about the mom so far, just the information she got from Burke. And a quick glance. We get nothing else.
We do know one thing. She got in the back of that car. I thought that was something. Was that a taxi? Like, she got in the back of the car. Could have been a taxi. I don't know. It wasn't a taxi. Taxis were all in yellow because Jessica also got in a Caprice when she went to the airport. So that was a
dollar taxi. I know a dollar taxi from New York when I see one, damn it. But again, that's what we got to wonder here is, what secrets are they holding back from Juke? And when Juke finds out, what's Juke's reaction going to be to it? Hell, what's Marvin's reaction going to be eventually when he finds out that Juke even found her? Like, it's so much stuff in the air with Juke going down this path of attempting to find who her mom is. And then Rock with the lie face. Rock lie face is horrible at times.
We need to have her eyes get big, beautiful eyes by the way. But man, them joints are just like, oh, here we go. We gotta have the rock lie face counter up for next episode, man. How many times she throw that face up? It's definitely 2 for sure. 2 on this episode, 2 to 3.
She throw that joint up, and then she normally come back with a smart ass remark.
Like
she was giving Symphony the business last season. That's how you pick up on it when the lie look comes out.
That's true. That's true. Speaking of moms, Nicole's mom is at the police station trying to figure out how to Laverne not get accused for giving her daughter drugs, and that's the end of that arc for her because the captain says, "Listen, we don't got nothing that points to her. Sorry, but she did mention that her parents are in with. the parents are in with the mayor." I love when they bring politics into power. We'll see what that means going forward. This about to be a display of privilege in power, and we love when the Westons have privilege. So let's see another form of privilege in the power.
The caucasity of it all comes out.
But it is interesting that the captain is pissed at Burke. Say, stop sticking your nose and everything. You're making the department look bad. Not a good look. So we see, where does that send Burke after this? Does she stay off her investigating off the low? What does that mean for her and Howard? Like, there's a lot to make of it, but it is to be known that the captain has eyes on her and her tactics. So we'll see how motivated or unmotivated she becomes going forward. So Rock comes back and tells the crew about the intel. Says, hey, I found out that on the inside, lied, by the way. Okay, so this is Rock face counter number 3. Somebody from the inside said Scrap is snitching. Lou is like, listen, this dude bled for us. He lost his eye. He ain't no snitch. Let's go find out. And well, that's where Marvin has to go do what he has to do. Now, next is when huge shout out to Roel pulling up with the Maryland Terps pullover. Fresh as I don't know what. Actually, the clothes are always good in power, but the retro clothing that they've been having has been on point. Like I
never even knew people wore Maryland Terp anything back then
at all.
Yeah, Yeah, maybe that's a New York thing. I mean, the colors will make sense because the colors hit hard with a pair of J's from back then. But like Maryland Turk, like, man, okay,
hey, listen,
all right.
Listen, the biggest thing is, how did you cop? How'd you get that? Did you? I mean, people went to New York to get clothes back in the day. I don't think people from New York went anywhere to get clothes. It was all there.
If you listen to old folks in DC around this time period, a lot of New York folks came to DC to get stuff and then brought it back with them. You know, you got to leave and get the fresh hot shit when you want it from time to time. Come on now, where you think they got all them Georgetown jackets? That joke just was something you were just getting in New York. Man. Facts,
absolute facts. Yeah, Roel says, "Looks, I told my mom I'm meet up with y'all, so if I'll come back, she know who did it." But anyway, this is Rock pulling a power play here. She says Southside is ours, and at this point now, you're screwed. When Unique is out, but Unique is not nowhere to go. Dean ain't gonna sell to him, and we know your skill. We can use you. I know there's beef back in the day, but this is business, and Roel buys in. Simple as put. As you said, I believe last season or maybe last episode, I'm not sure, but like at this point, yeah, it's definitely last episode. At this point now, you know, people, these soldiers, they're looking to be fed. So everybody's scrambling around, and Rock has a lot of doggy bags to give out. So here we go. Right. And pulling Roel, who is Unique's number one. They call each other brother. Level of respect there. Well, that definitely puts Unique down bad, as we see later in this episode. So,
and if you pay attention to Lou's reaction to it, and how Lou was not cool with even the thought of that happening. And the first thing I thought of, and I don't know if the writers of this show thought about it, that is literally one of the 48 laws of power, is that you break your enemy and you make your enemy your second, not the people who you trust. Because if you show mercy to your enemy, he'll always be loyal to you. But if she did it to one of her brothers, they would still question her. It's a hell of a power move right there that Rock pulled that way. And I know people only saw it from the angle that she's taking Unique's number one. But you got to understand, she's also empowering someone who he would have assumed she wanted dead.
Yeah.
That's how you build new loyalty with folk. Is that like, when you was down, I gave you a chance that no one else is willing to give you.
Yeah. Good point. Now Lou and well, at this point now we see that Kanan and Famous are trying to figure out how they're gonna make ends meet. And at this point, the Streets Need a Body mixtape is the only thing that he absolutely can push to make some money. Hustling the mixtapes, man, because Famous needs money. But Lou did tell him, he said, listen, if you stop smoking and get back in the booth, then we can make something happen. Get something on paper, man, and you can catch a check. So you know, he got it. He got to get out there and do something. And I'm just going to kind of jump ahead, but we did see when they were out on the corner trying to sell these tapes that they got pushed up on by the cops. And I don't think there's much to make of that. I think it's just to tell you that is just not an option for them just yet. It's too much heat. The cops ain't buying it because they're going to press up on you, even for some of the mixtapes. And then people won't buy them. So I need to figure out how to do something else. You got to get
Famous out this don't like Cassidy trying to move a mixtape, Jeff.
Stop it. Stop it. Oh my God, stop it. So Rock goes to the bodega and talks to Juliana. And Juliana says, listen, the rats are eating the money. Rat problems all over. And it's crazy because you're saving all your money to be eaten by the rats. If I had this money, I would be sending it back home to my family. And the wording here, this is also another scene that is written really well, because I think there's some metaphorical things happening here. I think, for one, Juliana talking about you having a rat problem is not just about the money being eaten, but it's the symbolic picture and nature of what she's saying. There's a couple of the first rat issue is scrap potentially. If you allow a rat to be in your organization, then your money's fucked. You need to do the job. You need to fix your job here. And then obviously the literal visual of the rats eating your money. So I think what happened here is Juliana, that somebody that Rock respects. I think we both agreed that, like, in terms of this show, Rock being one of the strongest written characters, yet woman character in all of television. One thing about her is that she respects women across the board. Looking at Juliana, who's just running the bodega, and she instantly went to her as eye to eye, and let's work something out. The difference between this and that is because remember when Rock went to the landlord in the apartments, it wasn't the same dynamic as eye to eye. It's like, you're going to give me what I want, and then that's that. Here's was more of an agreement of, this is what I want. What do you need? Let's work with each other. I give you protection, etc., etc., etc. So hearing Juliana, like, give her that perspective, I think not only identified a problem inside of that place, but it definitely made her realize that, listen, overall in your operation, you might not want to have rats around because that taps into your bag. Do something about it. What was your thoughts about this scene? And even her walking out seeing Unique's baby mother. Talk to me about all that.
I actually thought from when Juliana said, if it was me, I would have been sending the money back home to my family. I thought there she was attempting to give Rock, like, hey, we already know her family is why Rock got the connection. Wouldn't it be a smart way to clean money that way? I would just send it back home to my family. That's the first thing that popped into my head was, wait a minute, is she trying to slickly tell Rock, hey, this is a way we can clean a lot of this money. It's by sending it back home and it coming back to us. And it can come back to us in different ways, forms of bank accounts and things of this nature, if we do it that way. I thought that's my initial thought was that. I didn't even put together the thing with the rats until everything happened with Scrap. And then I was like, lose money. And I saw the correlation. But at first I just thought she was attempting to let her know, like, hey, we can move this money somewhere else and it not be a problem. But we also see just how carefree Rock is about the money being eaten. All she said is, you got a rat problem. Hi, exterminator. Just them damn things are just eating through money, and that's your answer. But again, it really just shows that with the amount of money they're making, I think Rock has the plan in place. She just doesn't have the full structure of what it means to pull in so much money. And then Unique baby mama, like, come on, man. Like, if a person ain't never been just on time at the wrong time, like it's like just being on time at the wrong time. It was amazing that she showed up then. I tell you, because it exposed something that I'm kind of weird, because it's something that Rock wouldn't want everybody to know. No. I thought you were gonna say it. I was gonna say, when did Rock always go in and did not lock the place when she goes in? I thought that was a thing, or am I making that up? No, but that's what I mean by, like, Rock is normally more careful than this. Yeah, it makes no sense. Yeah, and thus she got. So careless, and we're not going to put this on like a mantle of saying, you know, Rock is full of mistakes, but this is definitely one that we should take a look at down the line and see if she gets off her game and what makes her to do something like this. I mean, her coming in and not shutting the place down while she's in there counting the money with the whole thing open like that. Kind of reckless. It's a stash house at the end of the day. But it is a stash house, but it is also, the carelessness comes from her believing there is no threat. She got rid of the threat. Yeah. So when you get rid of the threat, you become a little more reckless, because who's gonna challenge me? Everybody know who she is. Everybody know what business she run. The biggest threat she had no longer exists. Who would have the balls to rob me? Yeah. And it's normally when you get that mindset that everything starts falling apart for you. Yeah. Let's move on. Scrap gets a visit by Marvin, and Scrap is in his feelings, rightfully so. He hears that Roel gets a promotion. The enemy gets a promotion. Scrap's like, man, I've been busting my ass, putting in these 80-hour weeks, and
all this other stuff, and y'all just bring somebody off the streets and get on the job. He's been acting lieutenant this entire time, and they give somebody else it. Like, yeah, rightfully so. And then, you know, Marvin, this, as I said earlier, in one ear out the other, and says, listen, where were you at, man? He was like, I was out Corona helping people hang stuff on the walls. And he's like, Marvin being Marvin, love this scene. How are you able to, who would trust you to do any of this with one eye? And entirely funny. First of all, this is a really, really good scene worked by Aid in just the passion behind why he should be the next in line and his gripes towards Roel. But more or less, you know, it is interesting because, well, Marvin's here to fact check. So he wants to figure out the truth behind all of this. And before Marvin walks out, I hope people caught that Marvin squinted one of his eyes to see how the hell does he do this. What a complete asshole. He's just like, and then he rolled out. So yeah, there's that. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. Oh, I should mention too that Scrap also, beyond Roel being an issue, he also revisited his issue when Kanan got inserted into things. I kind of let it go. I kind of, got over it.
I kind of let it go when Kanan got promoted above me, and now you taking this other nigga and you promoting him above me. You see what I mean? Like this is why I said what I said. Like, you gotta be careful with people who feel entitled because you came up with me.
Yeah,
come on, man.
You might be lucky Marvin ain't take that back to the diner. That would have been no more decision making at that point. It's like, oh, you're still jealous over Kanan. That's a liability. That's a huge liability. You targeting your son about something that's way, way gone by now. Oh no,
See, but again, this is why Scrap had to die. I know people don't want to hear that because you love this character and you want to blame Rock for everything. But remember, when you're trying to cover up some shit, which Rock is, he's only attempting to cover up his gambling issue because they've already addressed him with the issue.
Yeah.
So then you tell a lie that makes everything look bad. What do you think was going to happen? Like, come on, Scrap. Like,
yeah.
Then you up this joint jealous. You talk about Kanan, Marvin up here trying to figure out, again, because that's the first thing I'd have said. I'm an asshole, though. I would have clearly said, Nick, you hanging like Nick, but you only got one eye. Like, how is it possible? Because it can't be even. Because you can't tell if it's even. Like,
complete asshole. Man, Rock next goes to try to get new property, and she gets the complete prejudice of her buying property because she's a black woman. Of course they would. Until Rock bosses up and says, "Look, I'm paying straight cash," and they're just like, "Oh, you're still going to need your stuff." So we'll see what Rock is up to with this transaction that she's trying to make here. We'll see this purchase of some sorts. We'll see how that plays, but it ain't going to just
Rock going to get these W-2s from. This is what I'm way more interested in.
That's what I'm saying. Like, yeah, oh yeah, for sure. It's gonna be interesting.
Well, granted, it's the 90s. I mean, we used to make them jokes all.
People still doing them now. What the hell are you talking about?
People used to make them jokes. People used to make them jokes all the time. So I mean, hey,
motherfucker, still on that. Ain't nothing changed about that. That's one thing that's never going away.
Hey, Rock gonna say, man, I made $250,000 a year off of Avon. I already know the hustle. Murray K.
Hey, Rock, man, come through next week. We need that skin so soft, bro. Get us out the way. Mosquitoes at an all-time high this season. Get us out the way, Rock.
Oh shit.
So Juke is at home because she's not doing anything else right now. She's looking through her box of possessions and things that mean a lot to her, and she looks at a picture of her as a child with her mother, and she grabs Detective Burke's car because she goes to see her. I'm just going to get to that right now, just to get that out the way. She goes and sees her. She let her know, as I mentioned, your mom. Here's what I got about her. She went to California. She recently moved back. She's in Harlem. She has been divorced twice. She has no kid. Here's her address. Good luck. Oh, by the way, you owe me. We'll see how that plays out soon. And how is that going to be leveraged in some powerful, impactful way? So there's that. Now, Uncle Marvin, obviously, because there's no such thing as Facebook or Instagram or Twitter, he uses what I assume the yellow pages to figure out who the hell cousin Ebony is that is in Corona to go track down the steps of or collaborates Scrap's alibi. And well, of course he got the answer he thought he was going to get. Hell no, that man ain't hanging out anything. So he goes like a handyman and finds out that that wasn't happening. And yes, we still see the same car. That's the only important thing to make right here.
Oh, and also it's gonna throw all you kids around. I know it's gonna throw some of you all off, especially the younger generation here. But yes, we used to have a book back in the day that had everyone's phone number in it. Yeah. So if you just was looking for a name, you would literally just go down the phone book to look up somebody's number.
Yeah.
Wild times. Wow, crazy times.
It used to be crazy looking for your own relatives in there too. You just like, look up cousin blah blah blah. The girl just hit the book.
You get the girl number. And you write that joint down wrong. You're like, man, Tanisha, Alexander. Let me look. Let me go to the A's.
Wild time. Yeah, whoever was printing them joints, wild people too. That's a lot of information to do.
Hey, just willy-nilly, just putting your number out there to the world and not caring. Wow, that's how you can tell. It's a different time frame.
Yep. So Cartier Fareed is in the studio. You know, he's into that import-export thing. He is the top of the food chain, as we hear from Lou. Comes in and talks about Zisa, giving her the ultimate endorsement. Issue here is Crown is like, all right, well, cool. You know, she's, unsigned technically. But we need to work something out because we need to get her seen. Nonetheless, they come up with a deal with getting her a singles deal for her to test the waters. Lou is the finance of the studio. Crown is the face. Lou says, okay. Crown says this is a liability because if she blows up, who says she's going to sign with us? And Cartier basically says, I guess we will see. What is your thoughts about the agreement of this deal? And obviously this dynamic between Crown and Lou, as it seems to be some tension in terms of the decision making going on here.
Well, first thing is, especially in this time period, never trust a nigga named Cartier. It's never going to be a good thing.
Crown, you're not winning either one of these names.
No. Yeah, exactly. Come on, Crown Camacho. Come on, man. Like, come on, son. Like, you never trust a nigga in a blue suit that ain't a Crip. Because then you understand the blue suit. Here it's just like, the 90s fashion with the gold chain and you slick talking me. Like it's giving off Diddy vibes. So Lou has to be careful there. But I think the biggest picture we see here is the issue with Crown and Lou. Yeah. Because Crown is still acting like he should have input on stuff. And it's like, my guy, you're not fronting anything. Your input only exists as long as you're either bringing in money or putting out money, and he's doing neither. So, like, at this point, I think that's the power struggle between the two of them, is that, Lou feels he can do whatever he wants to do because he's the money behind it. He's the everything behind it. And Crown still feels like my name is what makes the studio. But as we've seen, they've not produced anything. Like the last artist signed, it was by Lou. Matter of fact, is it the last two? Yeah, like, come on, like, what? It's a weird dynamic between those two, and we also see it played out with Lou's girl and Crown. We see all of this playing out, but this is Crown being a very petty dude to Lou, while at the same time needing Lou, and this is Lou letting his street instincts slip. Yeah. Because he's letting Crown get away with a lot of stuff that you wouldn't let no dude in the street get away with. Because he doesn't see Crown as a street dude. But sometimes you don't have to be one to move like one. And that's what's going on here with Crown. Yeah. Because Crown is actually smart here when he says, why would we trust him? Like, this deal makes no sense. Like, Crown is 100% right about it. But Lou, with this music shit, has put on blinders to anything in the streets and the way the streets move. And he is like just going full biker boys down this path of just having no vision. like no vision at all of what's going on around him. He can only see what's in front of him.
Yeah, actually, it's probably a good analogy because Backwards is just trash movie, and
yeah, I'm only talking about the vision part of it. With
okay.
Luke, where you can only see in front of him, and you can't see anything around you.
Yeah.
So you take that away from you. If you're supposed to be a street dude, you're automatically gonna die because that means you can only see in front of you.
Yeah,
all the threats come from the sides; they never come from in front of you.
Yeah, for facts, for sure. Going forward, we already talked about the police officers hating on families dumping his mixtape. Marvin meeting with his lawyer, talking about Tony being tracked down, who's an informant. She is about to get married. He said to a dentist, "She always had nice teeth," is what he commented. So there's that. Going down to Juke meeting Detective Burke. We already talked about that. So IOU is on deck for future purposes. Howard being informed by the office in terms of what they know. Howard says he doesn't remember anything from that night. They said the blood does not match yours or Unique, and Unique had an alibi. He's good to go, but we're still going to keep eyes on him because why not? So we're going to give him hell. And a crackhead remembers a kid that night, but how liable is that? But it seems to not be a priority right now to them. But it is information that Howard has, is knowing that, hey, they have a little something, but it ain't going to amount to anything. I mean, let's just call it what it is, folks. There's no smoke in this one. There's never been a crackhead ever used to collaborate evidence. And he's, first of all, crackhead. That's the end of the discussion right now. They can't use this. It's not going to work. It's not going to happen.
Crackheads aren't used unless the police really, really want to arrest you. That's the only time they will use a crackhead against you. They will damn sure use it. If you're somebody who they really, really looking for, they will use that crackhead against you. But here in Howard's case, you can't. Like, all he's saying is a kid. You know how many kids is around here?
But thousands. Yeah, exactly.
That's giving us nothing.
Mm-hmm. But listen, this is all free intel for him, so he can play chess. He knows where everybody's at right now on the board. So, this is the conversation between Rock and Kanan, where you start talking about, hey, the crazy cop. He may step to you talking some crazy shit, and then Kanan, as we said, with the Rock lying face. And Kanan said, I thought he didn't remember my face. I thought he didn't remember anything. And says, it's okay, baby. I got you. You're safe. There's a lot of lies going on here. I don't think we have anything to talk about here besides there's a lot of lies going on right now. Mm-hmm. And Kanan is going to begin to further his suspicion. And this is not going to be good when Kanan finds out that the person that he trusts is loved the most has been lying to him a lot. And that is going to pry them as much as she thinks it's going to bring them closer, because remember, she had trust issue last season. So it's a matter of now trying to regain that. So, and we see this all the time about the parents trying to regain the trust of their kids, and it doesn't work because their tactic of lying never helps. Ghost and Tariq, Tasha and Tariq, the Tejadas, all of them. Zeke, because he's not a Tejada, but is he a Tejada? Yes, he's a Tejada because he didn't know he's a Tejada because they lied to his ass too. And here we go once again. Kanan Starks and Raquel Thomas lying. And
the only mama
Jukebox,
power,
period.
Not to lie.
Tommy Mother.
I said mother. Kate.
Tommy Mother. Kate. She ain't lied about that.
Kate lied to get drugs.
That's
Kate
it.
lied to get drugs.
That's it. But everything else she played.
I was gonna say, is it? I'll make sure I get her name right. Lakeisha. Oh, the Cash. She never lied to Cash. She never lied to Cash.
Yeah, fair enough.
She say the truth. She's the most honest mother on power. Her and Grandma. Grandma ain't lied. Grandma was just a drunk.
No, she definitely she lied. She definitely lied about Tariq, and
she lied to the police. She lied to
but wait, she lied to what's her name? Oh my god, I can't believe we forgot her name. Oh my god. Tariq's sister.
Lied to family.
Tariq's sister.
I'm about to say Raina. God.
No.
Baby Yaz.
Yeah. She lied to Yaz. She said, "Grandma, something, something, something." She completely lied to her like plenty of times when she had to go get her.
She was drunk.
Lies a lie. Lies a lie. Baby Yaz got lied to. Hey, listen, we're not gonna get that tape book. Go ahead and load that Yaz book up right now. We still need that.
Hey, I'm about to say, yep. I mean, it's clearly there's no more influence necessary. So Yaz book, Power in Reverse, or Power's Future, or something of that nature.
Yeah, we need it. What else we got now? All right, going back. Unique is with his baby mom in their mother's house, who mother's just tripping. Unique said the line that had to be said this season. "You weren't giving me all that when I was sending you and your church folks up to Atlantic City. If you have never heard that before in your life, I introduce you to the funniest stereotypes about old people. Is going up to Atlantic City. If anybody in this northern Atlantic, what's it, mid-Atlantic region, if you only have a grandma or a church folk that went to Atlantic City,
mother who went to Atlantic City and wore a little off-the-shoulder white blouse joke. Come on, man. They was getting it in Atlantic City.
Listen, Unique hit hard on that one. Mom ain't had nothing to say after that. She's like, yeah, you're right. You're right. But
they had us thinking Atlantic City was Vegas growing up, Joe. Like, what the hell? I as an adult, I have never been to Atlantic City. But as a kid, I swore that was like Vegas. Everybody went there to gamble.
Yeah, Atlantic City is like a very, very near future utopian land site. So, you go down and you see Mad Max and dinosaurs. It's wild out there. Atlantic City. I can't even believe that shit still. I cannot believe that joint is still operative. But conversation for another day. But this is when Unique baby mom's like, what are we gonna do? We gotta protect our son. Rock see me. What's gonna happen? Unique says, listen, Rock ain't gonna do nothing else. Unique has a plan. We'll talk a little bit more about that because we need to talk a little bit more about the state of Unique. Because let's get to it in a second. Marvin goes back and says he can't be 100% sure if Scrap is lying.
Yeah.
Lou says, I can't do it. He's clearly looking around like, I ain't about this. He leaves his money on the table and he's gone. Tension upon the decision making going on here. Unique. It should be noted that Lou says, I'm not going to do it this time. I'm not going to, what he said, hitter? I'm not going to be the hitter, or I'm not going to swing at this one. Whatever he said, however he said it. He's insinuating I'm not going to be the one to pull the trigger. He already know the decision had been made. And he stepped away in his complete disagreements of that. So this wasn't like
it's a play on the first season, right?
For sure. 100%.
Yeah.
100%. And I think it's noted that when we talked about Lou kind of getting out the game and how that affected him when he took the shot before, we see now he's just definitely standing up for himself. Like, look, I'm not about that life. I'm not doing that no more. That trauma and whatever, I'm just not about it. And plus, he doesn't agree that Scrap should be in this situation as it is. So there's that. We'll get to all of that in the end. Let's go back to Unique. Unique goes to the bingo hall to see Dean. Unique, it's been gone for 3 months. Everything's crazy. And listen, he says, you're not safe to work with because of what you've been accused of. Streets is hot. It's not good. It's toxic. Nuclear, I think the word he used. And also said that there's no room for competition. And then Unique tries his pitch. But no, because for the third, he's completely down bad and it ain't happening. He has to leave. He makes an ass of himself leaving the bingo hall. And that ain't good because, that's where Dean is out here with his mom having a very peaceful bingo game for the 1,000th time. And she continues to smile. What a precious young lady she is with her son.
It's the hearing aids, right? She got to have a hearing aid or something, but she can't hear nothing that's being said. It's a slick move to have it full of old people. Because them old people ain't caring about nothing but bingo. Not at all. So, we'll come back to that too, because there's a little bit more part. Now, Lulu has this girl Jessica on top of him. It ain't really working. She says she's going to Jessica. She's going to LA. Jessica says she's going to LA. And this is all because of Crown. Power move by Crown. Got your girl a new job, got her up out of there. Hit you in the field since you out here doing things. I'm gonna do the things I got. A little bit of influence and pull I got to get her a job out of here. Jessica is an opportunist. This is completely on par.
And when Jessica goes to say bye to her mom and Famous, I mean, Famous is like hell with her. Mom is kind of sad. I guess Famous should be able to move in now because Jessica's gone, but maybe not because Famous was also like, fuck both of them. And we out on these streets. So the family dynamic is a little bit in shambles right now at the Famous household. So, you know, Jessica's gone. I don't think we see her no more this entire series. I don't think there's a point. I don't think she's gonna come back and like, look what I did. She clearly don't care about Famous. Talking about don't give up on your career, but do you really care? No, you wanted about yourself. That's why you're gone. You would have took Famous.
I ain't even gonna say that. Maybe she comes back and she fucks her way to Famous getting another opportunity with a record deal. And she come back from LA and she like, look, all you gotta do is drop a hot 16 and you could get on. And then he hooks up with someone from the West Coast, and then maybe we do get an expansion somehow, some way of something different.
Okay.
Like, I'm holding out hope for Famous.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is the last.
I'm holding out hope for Famous. Okay. Maybe she get him a record deal. Maybe Ice-T out there, Cube, Eazy-E. One of help Famous get on.
Listen, don't nobody bring up no Tommy and his connect in LA. Just don't go there.
We are 30 years. If one person say anything about, man, you know, Tommy got that connect out in LA.
I think they say Tommy's 12 right now. I think it is. So
is it? Nah, he can. Is he that?
Kanan 16, I believe they said. I think they said Kanan 16. I think thought, Tommy's 12. Okay, so, I think that's what they said. No,
Tommy's still out there with his grandmother in Chicago, right? This would have been that time period for him.
That's right, because he was with his brother. I don't know. No, he could be. Well, I don't know, but I don't know. No.
Either way, ain't no connection in LA.
Okay. Yeah. Don't come on, folks. Let's be smart here. It ain't no. What is about if Jessica links up with Tom? No, it's not happening. It's not different timelines, different time periods. I mean, so anyway, going forward, Juke finds her mother coming out the house. She jumps in the backseat, as I mentioned. Our first look at LaToya Luckett for the season. Going next, Unique Spot gets hit. As I said, my man is rock bottom down bad, but those cement threes look bomb, so he not that bad out here. But this is when Roel comes up and let him know that, listen, I'm on a new wave here. I'm on that rock wave, you know, and Southside is done. Nothing left for you, brother. And that's that. And, you know, Unique spazzes out. There's a level of respect there. You know, he didn't flex on him like he usually doing, folks. I mean, Unique has no problem choking out folks. So there's a little bit level of respect. But it is interesting to see now what is Unique's next play. Unique definitely is desperate, and a desperate person is probably some of the most dangerous people in all of situations. So we will see what his next move may be. But the other caveat is, remember that he also is very, very conscious about the idea of protecting his baby mother and his son. So that's the balance he has to play here about him getting back in the game, getting him to position, and also protecting his family, which same thing with Rock. Wants to do the same thing. So we'll see what happens going forward with Unique and such. We now come to the end of the episode, folks, where once again, a quick shout out to Aid Chike Torbett. Obviously, the interview in the beginning of this review today. And if not, if you're just kind of jumping in here a little bit late, you can check out the interview separately on the channel available right now. Who plays Scrap, by the way. Scrappy, Scrap, whatever you want to call him. Now, let's just call it what it is. This scene was shot actually really dope. Scrap in the back seat, they're driving. A little bit of slow motion effect, something we don't typically see in Power often, but like we see them kind of scaling around in the car. And I'm just knowing that they're building up this very cinematic feel and production for the back end of this episode. And with that, you know, with this being directed by Riviere, I forget how to pronounce his first name, EIF. How you pronounce it? Effin, thank you. Is it? Either way, but you know, the guy that's
I would go with EFN and been perfectly fine.
The guy that's in charge of a lot of Power stuff, and I mean, like when it comes down to the action and really bringing that Power aesthetic, it's definitely him. So you know, this is his bread and butter here. And with this scene, you know, this is where I start to think like Scrap is talking a lot. They're talking about taking him to a spot. Lou is definitely in not just very chill Lou mode, but he's in very mellow Lou mode, and this can only mean that something's about to go down. I'm gonna let you kind of narrate what's kind of went down through the scene. What was your thoughts about everything that was going down, and what do you think was going to happen next?
It's more messed up here. We get Scrap finally feels validated in everything in this moment. Like he's like, man, you're giving me my chance. I can't wait to prove to you all what I can do. Like I think this ride is very reminiscent of, I think it was Goodfellas, where you saw the same thing where the guy was talking big game, like, hey man, I'm happy to do this and this, not understanding the whole trip is to end your life. And I love the way they shot it, because they shot it in a perspective where you kind of see in a blur Marvin and Lulu's face, but you're focusing strictly on Scrap as he's just talking about all the great things he can do. You would think here that maybe this would have been enough for them to pull that. He's clearly loyal to us. Right. But then we see two people who understand the decision's already been made of what's going to happen to him.
Right. So the director, again, Eve Rivera, beyond his work with Power, his work in music videos, and a lot of music videos has this sort of aesthetic, that close, very what's the word? Tight spaces, claustrophobic feeling and whatnot, and being able to play to different emotions in such a small moment, a small scene, a small moment that makes this all work. And you're entirely right. The validation of Scrap is not only something that the character gets, but I think we start to feel that as well too. We start saying like, yeah, everything he said earlier, like I was maybe 50-50 about, but right now you're like, nah, this is what he deserved. Like he deserves another chance. Give him another run. You know, with everything that happened around him, Roel getting a promotion, he getting prosecuted out here, interrogated out here, and then what? So like, oh, you give him a new spot, he's gonna run a new operation. Yeah, that's a good way to build morale again. But I thought like again, this was a good like well done. But continue.
Yeah. So just from that perspective, we see just how Scrap finally feels seen by them too. And then when you pull up to the location and you see the somber walk of Lou and Marvin as he's talking, then you know, like, oh yeah, they definitely about to kill him. But I did like to when we finally get to see who pulls the trigger, it's Rock.
Yeah.
I think it got to the point where she realized, I can't leave this up to either one of you. Because I think that conversation in the car, one of them would have changed their mind and said, nah, we got to give him another chance. But because they understood already the decision had been made and that Rock was going to be the one to pull the trigger, there was nothing they could do for him. But I wonder if Rock was around Scrap as he's having that conversation, would her mind have changed?
And tell you what, why wasn't she the one to just go for it and interrogate him herself to get the answers she wanted? I think it had a lot to do with Lou earlier knowing that Rock's decision had already been made. There was no point. Much like he said, why did you make Marvin do all of this if your only line of defense is going back to the same thing you said in the first time, which is one of my pet peeves. Like, if you already want to make a statement, don't ask me to do any further investigation, studying, or work of any sorts when you just come back and say, well, this is what I know, and that's that. It reminds me of the first time I went to court. Right? Long story short, the judge clearly racist. I'm just gonna say, because he threw out everybody's case, even a physics professor who came in there and was like, "There's no way to speed trap can catch me at this angle and stuff like that." I mean, this is the most genius thing I've ever seen in my entire life. He had a whole presentation, right? And what do you call it? The court guy, because the judge was like, well, the cop said you were speeding, so you're guilty. The guy had a 15-minute presentation, and that's all he said. And I was just like, wow, imagine getting up here being all prepared, saying all you got to say, and somebody's mind was already made up the entire time. And you're just like, well,
Just
the cop
wasting your
said you were
time.
speeding. It's wasting your time. And that's exactly what I felt like here. When I heard that thing, it for whatever reason triggered me back to that moment a long time ago, where it's just like, why are we here if you already had your decision made? Why did you make Marvin go check out, do all this information, if you had already going to go back and say, well, somebody on the inside said this is what happened, the same thing you said much earlier today. So I think this is the whole building up of Lou's feeling the entire time, as he knew that I'm not doing this because I'm not doing something that you already, subconsciously already made your decision about. No matter if it's right or wrong, I'm not partaking in the circus here. And that's why I love how they showed Marvin kind of being the bystander, like, I just smoked my cigarette. Lou in complete disappointment. And then we look at Scrap, and Scrap is happy, and he's like, yeah, and he's like,
he notices,
not bad at all. And he's like, nah. I was like, same thing. I was like, nah, man, come on. But go ahead.
I mean, that's the key part of the setup. There is that Rock understood she needed to be the one to pull the trigger. She got to protect her lie. And it can't break. It cannot break.
Fair
because
point.
she can't then come back and tell them, like, oh, I know who I got this information from. I got it from a cop. You know what cop I got it from? Howard. Like, no, because then it would be questions on why you still talking to him. Didn't we try to kill him? Didn't he try?
Yeah.
Way too many other things come out from that.
Yeah.
So Scrap had to go.
We trusting the cops now? That's what we do?
Yeah. Scrap had to go.
Yeah.
And
the same person you tried to kill.
She sent Marvin out there just in case he could find hard evidence to prove that Scrap was innocent.
Yeah.
But all it took was for Marvin to find Scrap in a lie. That's it. Because think about it, if Scrap never says that and just says, I was pinched, what happens? What's Rock's out there? If he says, man, I got caught up again gambling.
I think the decision's still the same. And I want to ask you all in the audience right now, do you think Rock made the right decision by killing Scrap? Was she justified? And as Lou just said, if Marvin would have had no definitive doubt, should we say, or any doubt, let's just say not definitive, let's say if Marvin didn't have any doubt, would Rock's decision had changed? Let us know in the comments your thoughts about that. But go ahead. Any other thing you want to add to that?
One thing. It's very funny that the person she sent was Marvin. The one person who would possibly challenge her for her head of the family role. The one person who had the role before he went to jail.
Yeah.
Because Lou doesn't want it. But you got to get Marvin on your side. You got to keep Marvin on your side. And Rock understood that. So it's, hey, go check him out. Because Marvin's going to think like she's going to think which is, if it's a chance, like that old joke. So you're telling me there's a chance. Just reverse that. Because if you're telling me it's a chance that you're snitching, you got to die.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Yeah. There it is. Well, folks, that would do it for tonight's recap of Power Book 3, Raising Kanan, Episode 2, Mind Your Business, written by Santana Sierra, directed by Elf Rivera. Let us know in the comments your thought about tonight's episode, your favorite parts of this episode. As I said, and if you've been listening the entire night of this recap, having Aid on the show, absolute pleasure. Who plays Scrap. And if not, you jumped in at some point during this recap, you can check out that interview and all other interviews in terms of Power Book 3 Raising Kanan Season 2 on the channel, available right now. But folks, that'll do it tonight, and we'll be back each and every week after the conclusion of the show, airing at night each and every week until the conclusion of the season. All things Power, all things Stars. We're here for it. Thank you for tuning in, folks, and we see you back next week.